Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Number 1. Edinburgh Castle. Scotland's capital Edinburgh is Europe's most feared city, and Edinburgh Castle is one of the most feared in the country. The vaults are places where foreign prisoners of war are detained, especially those captured in the wars with France in the 18th and 19th centuries. Scottish war memorials were built after World War I. The tunnel was first discovered a few hundred years ago, and a trumpeter was sent down for surveillance. He was just blowing the trumpet to signal to the people, but halfway to the Royal Mile, the trumpet suddenly disappeared. When the rescue team was brought in, no trace of the trumpet was found. He was gone completely. Many people also hear the drums emitted in the castle, but no one has ever seen a drummer. Voices only appear when the castle is about to be attacked, like the drum command in war. Caves or bunkers are haunted by victims. Colorful spheres are often photographed by guests. In it there was a desperate prisoner who had fled into the stool hopper hoping to be taken out and found free. Unfortunately, the wagon carrying the crate fell down the cliff, causing him to die at the same time. Visitors recount that his ghosts often smell horrible and always try to shove them off the wall. Number 2. Whaley House. Whaley House, built by Thomas Whaley, is a building located in San Diego, California in 1857. It is considered one of the most famous haunted houses in the world by the mystical stories associated with it. One of the most easily reminiscent of all is that Whaley House was built on a grave site. Over the years, plenty of visitors to the house have encountered ghostly phenomena within its walls. Thomas Whaley's ghost is often seen, especially on the upper landing. Other encounters include his wife Anna Whaley in the downstairs rooms or garden. Even the Whaley's dog, Dolly, gets in on the act, with one parapsychologist claiming to see a dog running down the hall into the dining room, while another visitor felt something brush against his leg. The Whaley House and its attendant hauntings have been featured on a variety of television series. Number 3. Barley House. Located in the small village of Borley, Essex, England, the castle was built near Borley Church in 1862. The owner of the castle was Pastor Henry Dawson Ellis Bull. Pastor Henry moved to live in the castle after being awarded a noble title for a year. It is known that Borley Castle was built on a plot of land belonging to the church of the village. People have been saying that in 1362 a church was built in the same area. A monk in this church had an affair with a nun at a nearby monastery. After this, a religious relationship was discovered, the monk was executed, and the naive nun lived to the convent wall to the death. Some local people always hear footsteps appearing in the Barley mansion. Pastor Henry's 4 daughters insisted on seeing a nun's ghost about 35 meters from the house at dusk. They tried to talk to this ghost, but it disappeared as they approached. The carriage driven by 2 drivers. Headless. The sound of the bell is constantly ringing. Although the zipper has been cut off before, the light is hidden in the window or the footsteps are not clear. In addition to phenomena such as window bursts, vibrating bells, flying stones, walls, the words were written and their daughters were locked up in a room without a key.
During 1930 to 1935.
Number 4. Bell Farm. The Bell Farm is mentioned in many books, movies and television shows. The story behind the ghost farm is very famous because it is the only story recorded between ghostly rumors about a ghost that has caused the death of a living person. Between 1817 and 1821, the Bell family was crushed by a ghost woman named Witch Bell or Kate. They believe that Kate tortured John Bell, the father of a family with a mental disorder, that eventually killed him. John could not sleep or healed. An odd black fluid was found on John's bed after his death. To test the liquid, John family drops a drop into the tongue of the family cat. Immediately the cat rolls to death. In the last 3 years, The community around Bell Farm has been obsessed by the woman, and they believe Kate is doing something very bad. Number 5. Rainham Building. Rainham Hall is famous for the ghost of Miss Brown, photographed by 2 photographers in 1936. It is one of the ghosts so far. It is said that the ghost Brown haunted the entire stairs of the house Rainham. In the early 1800s, King George IV, living in this house, saw a brown-haired woman standing by his bed with a pale face and confused hair. In 1836, Colonel Loftus visited the house on Christmas Day, accidentally seeing the ghost. A week later, he saw the ghost in brown dress with 2 empty eye sockets. A few years later, Officer Frederick Marriott and 2 friends saw Mrs. Brown go up and down the stairs with a lantern in her hand. Mr. Marriott fired on the ghost, but the bullet pierced the specter. According to spiritualism, those who were wrongfully killed died suddenly. Often their souls will remain in the world, haunting the earthly beings without being released. The strange thing is that since the photo of the lady in the brown dress appeared on the newspapers, people no longer have the opportunity to meet this mysterious ghost again. Rumors have since cooled down. To this day, the ghost of a lady in brown skirts has always been an unanswerable mystery despite the many proofs that have been made for nearly 400 years. Number 6. The Queen Mary. It is known that the luxury Queen Mary was discontinued in 1967. It became a floating hotel in Long Beach, California, USA. Valentina said, as well as those who came to this hotel, she was very curious about the rumors of the devil here. According to people who have visited and worked on the Queen Mary, the machine room was the haunted area of the ship, where a 17-year-old sailor was crushed to death after attempting to escape a fire. Many people have reported that they hear knock on the water pipes around the door. In the reception area of the hotel, visitors often see the ghost of a woman in white. In addition, there are a lot of ghosts haunting the Queen Mary's swimming pool. People often hear the voice of a girl calling for her mother and a girl who broke her neck in an accident at the pool. The furniture in the dressing room is self-moving, so tourists can feel their hands touching. The appearance of souls, and the painful whine of a ghost in the middle of the ship. He died here when the Queen Mary collided with a smaller ship. Number 7. White House, Washington, D.C. Located at 1600 on Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C., the White House is not only home to the presidents of the United States of America, but also the rendezvous of several presidents. Someone once heard President Harrison scour the upper floor. President Andrew Jackson refuses to leave his bedroom, while Ghost Lady First Lady Abigail Adams hovering in the corridor. Ghosts most often seen by President Abraham Lincoln. A young female secretary under the Roosevelt administration said she saw Mr. Lincoln sitting on his bed and was taking off his boots. On another occasion, the Dutch Queen Wilhelmina was awakened by a knock on the door, but when she answered, she received a glare from Lincoln's corridor. Number 8. London Tower. The Tower of London is a famous landmark in England, built by William Conqueror in the 11th century as a symbol of his authority, and a place of detention of those who dare to oppose the king. Besides, this is also a place to store royal jewelry as well as nurture rare animals. However, the Tower of London is remembered the most because of the spirits of prisoners executed here. The traitors must receive the blade of a cataclysm from the executioner, still eager to return to vengeance. It is one of the most well-preserved historic monuments in the world, but the Tower of London is also among the most famous haunted places. There is no argument, as this is where hundreds of executions, murders and brutal torture have taken place over the last 1,000 years. Dozens of encounters with ghosts outside and inside the tower have been recorded. On a cold winter day in 1957, at 3 midnight, a guard was awakened by a beating on the watchtower. When he went out to find out, he saw a white figure at the top of the tower. Later, the new soldier learned that on this same day 500 years ago, Jane Grey was beheaded here Feb. 12, 1554. However, perhaps the most famous ghost in this tower is the soul of Anne Boleyn, one of the wives of King Henry VIII, who was beheaded in 1536. Ghosts are seen very much times, sometimes holding her head, wandering around the Blue Tower and the Chapel Tower. One of the most feared ghost stories associated with the London Tower is the story of the death of Countess Salisbury, who was sentenced to death after being charged with involvement in criminal activities in 1541, although the people believe she is innocent. As she struggled on ahead, she escaped and was chased by a knife in the head. This terrible performance is often performed by the souls of the Green Tower. Number 9. Ballygelly Castle. Located in the village of the same name, in County Antrim, Northern Ireland, Ballygelly Castle turns to the sea in front of Ballygelly Bay. It is the only building built in the 17th century that is still being used as a residence and one of the most numerous in the area. A ghost often referred to as the ghost of Mrs. Isobel Shaw, the former owner of the castle. People rumor that people living in the house sometimes hear the knock on the door but then immediately disappear. While alive, Isobel was locked in the room by her husband and not fed. She died by jumping from the window. An unusual ghost walking around the castle in a silk dress is Nixon, who lived here in the 19th century. Number 10. Rose House Hall. Rose Hall is the most famous stone castle built in the 1770s in Jamaica. With an upstairs plastered, Rose Hall sits hilly on a hillside, offering visitors a magnificent view of the sea. Rose Hall was turned into the story of a woman named Annie Palmer coming here in 1820 and the untrue legends about underground tunnels, bloodstains and ghost stories. Annie Palmer is a witch who is believed to have killed 3 husbands by poisoning, stabbing, hanging, then pouring boiling oil in their ear, and many mistresses including slaves that simply bore them. Recently, tourists have taken pictures of the ghost face,